Hello, everyone. Right now, we're giving you an interview with Amanda Forsythe, soprano, going to be featured with Early Music Vancouver in Victoria on Friday, September 26th, and in Vancouver on Saturday, September 27th. Amanda, welcome. And even though you're not in Vancouver yet, we're so excited to have you here. Maybe you could just start us off with a few words about the program you'll be singing in Victoria and Vancouver.
Yeah. Well, when we were brainstorming the program, Susie had suggested a lot of different interesting ideas, but she thought about maybe doing prophetic raptures. And then Alex was thinking, well, maybe something with flute. And so I did a little research and I was like, oh, well, that beautiful flute aria, Sweet Bird, which I already know, and Prophetic Raptures were both written for the same soprano, Elisabeth Duparc. So from there, I started looking at other pieces that she had premiered. And so this whole program now, with the exception of the newly composed piece, is arias written for Elisabeth Duparc. And we're also doing a newly composed and commissioned work by Patrick Carrabré called The Mother Tree. So that will be featured in and amongst the Handel arias.
And so there's two different kinds of Handel arias on this program. There are those that are from operas, and there are those that are from oratorios. And of course, the ones from the operas are in Italian, and the oratorio arias are in English. Do you, even though they're written for the same singer, do you sense any difference between these sort of two genres, if you will, of arias?
Yeah, I mean, from what I know, this singer, who is a French singer, trained in Italy, living in London, so sort of at the end of Handel's career. So he was phasing out opera and getting really into oratorios. The two arias that are from operas, it's Ferramondo and Diademea, and they're really virtuosic. I mean, the Ferramondo is completely virtuosic. The one from Diademea is kind of an A B, slow fast, but like really tricky, difficult stuff. And then as he moves into the oratorio, it takes on a simpler, well, I don't want to say simpler because something like Sweet Bird, which is meant to sort of mimic bird song, has its own kind of virtuosity, but it's like a more languid virtuosity. This singer, I guess, was known for sounding like a nightingale. So a lot of these arias have like a fluty kind of sing-song quality to them to highlight her skill.
And and so when I think of you, I think of you singing Handel. That's really what I think of. When I think Amanda Forsythe, I think Handel, singing Handel amazingly well. How did you end up in this repertoire? Like, can you just give us a briefish version of your journey from the beginning to now, if that's possible?
Yeah, I mean it wasn't like a planned journey. I went to conservatory just for singing in general, not specifically for Baroque singing. Um, and I used to do a lot of bel canto repertoire, and it just started to be the thing that I got hired to do. And then I somehow became known as a Handel specialist without ever agreeing to that. But it is he's my favorite composer to sing. It just is so comfortable. And, I mentioned the difficult coloratura. It's difficult, but most of the patterns I've done before in another Handel aria. So it's not that it's borrowed because Handel is known for borrowing a lot of his music, but it's just, the little format, da 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 da, that kind of thing. You're like, oh wait, my voice already knows this one. So you save a lot of time that way.
And after how exactly did you get into early music? Because yeah, not every conservatory necessarily has access to early music. What was your path?
Yeah, it wasn't actually from my conservatory. I auditioned for the opera program at New England Conservatory, and I didn't make the cut. So I started looking for for other opportunities, and I auditioned for the Harvard Early Music Society just across the river in Cambridge, and I got a part in that opera. And then the conductor of now retired of Boston Baroque, Martin Perlman, he came and he asked me to audition for him. And so I sang a couple of times as a chorister, and then he started giving me standout roles. And And that's led to a 25-year career with Boston Baroque. I'm actually being honored at this year's Boston Baroque Gala, and I'm like, do I get a gold watch? Like, what's included? So yeah, that's how it got started. And you need to have some jobs to get other jobs. So emboldened by my success with Boston Baroque, I started auditioning for other companies, and little by little, it all came.
That's amazing. Do you have is there an early work that you sang early on, a Baroque piece or another early piece that sort of, yeah, that sort of sank its hook into you and really enraptured you in the repertoire at all?
Yeah, and it's my moneymaker. It's Messiah. I mean, everyone does Messiah, but it's such a good piece. And at this point, I've sung Messiah in so many different ways. I've done the Baroque ones, I've done the modern ones, I've done cut ones, and the full Messiah. And I've done it, singing different arias because it's not really clear who sings what. So sometimes conductors like to mix it up. Um, but it's still so good. I look forward to it absolutely every year. So that was the one that made me think, okay, I do this and I do it well. Um, I can make a career out of this.
So you just said with Messiah, you sometimes do it with Baroque orchestras and you sometimes do it with modern orchestras. Can you describe the different experience that it is for you between the two, if you do feel like it is a different experience, just for those
Oh,
people
oh,
who maybe
absolutely.
don't know?
Yeah,
Mhm.
well, the most obvious one is one being the Baroque Messiah will be at 415, and the modern Messiah will be half a step up at 440, which I actually find a little more comfortable, the higher version. Um, it's so well orchestrated that it doesn't matter how big the orchestra is, you're not going to be drowned out by like too many violins. It's all well composed. The Baroque groups tend to be on the smaller side. I've even done Messiah with like string quartet, and it worked totally fine. Um, the big groups tend to have bigger choirs. A lot of time, the Messiah choirs, even if it's a professional symphony orchestra, they'll use a volunteer choir. Um, and I did one in Kansas City with like a 250 person choir, and it was great because they had decorated the stage. It was all Christmased out, and like the whole audience came, and they were all in red and green, and they brought their families. It's one of the few classical pieces that it's like considered okay to bring your kids to, which is really nice. And I love that. It's a totally different kind of energy. And sometimes the like serious Baroque ones that are complete are not as interesting. But if you sing with Tafel music, as I know you do, the one that they do every year, which is almost a send up of Messiah. It's very good, but then they add in skits and like comedy routines. It's great. Fun for the whole family.
Exactly. How about the size of a room? Does that affect your Messiah or anything? Does that affect your singing at all? The size of the room that you perform in?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm just trying to think of the big ones. Well, I'm doing the Kennedy Center one this year, and I haven't sung there. Um, and I'm doing the New York Phil one this year. And I guess I have sung, yeah, I've sung there since they moved into the new hall. So it's a big hall. It's pretty, the acoustic is much better than it used to be. And um, I don't know. If you're in a big, I would say it's not the size, but the resonance. I think I probably would sing it differently if I was in like a really echoey church. That might have a different, I might use the space a little bit more. Um, but no, I think there are certainly pieces that I feel like the hall is too big for it, but Messiah is maybe not one of them.
So sort of going back now, after sort of steeping yourself in early music with Boston Baroque and other groups like that, early on in your career, do you feel like that affects or has led you to interpret later music differently in
Yes.
any sort of way? Because I
Yeah.
know you've done a lot of opera and the Rossini Festival and things like this. Yeah, do you think the early musicness early on in your career seeps in elsewhere?
Yeah, for sure. And sometimes conductors like it and sometimes they don't. Like what was I singing? William Tell in Pesaro. And I was, Rossini is considered like acceptable to ornament, but I was doing something like a straight tone ornament. The conductor was like, nope, 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 none of that, none of that. You need to spin everything. But then I did Fidelio at Covent Garden, and Papano was like, he was all into ornamenting repeats, which usually isn't done, but he let me do all my ornaments, and yeah, he was very collaborative on that. So I just well, I'm finding this with the new piece, the Mother Tree piece, because I haven't sung that much new music recently. I did a lot of it early on, and then I kind of stopped doing it. And I'm remembering why I used to get hired to do both, is because composers really want to hear the notes that they've written, not like a vibrato-y approximation. Um, and for this, yeah, I'm like, oh, I really have to sing this like straight tone to get the clash that they're looking for. Um, so yeah, I mean, I love vibrato. I sing with vibrato, but I think a straight tone is kind of preferable when you're trying to like delineate like just like, the exact notes and where they fit into the harmonies.
Back to Handel for a second. I'm always fascinated by this idea that one, that we still perform Handel a lot today, that all over the Western world. But when we think of his operas, it's like Italian music by a German guy for an English audience, and yet we're still totally enraptured with it today. Is there anything in particular about that music that you think makes it so long lasting?
I mean, people just, it's totally subjective. Like I told you, he's my man. He's the one that like tugs at my heartstrings much more than Bach does. And some people feel the exact opposite. I just think he had a way with melody and harmony and all the things that I like, crunchy suspensions and aside from a few operas, they're very light on recitative. He's kind of just moving everything along quickly. And I've done a lot of, other Baroque composers, all the French ones. And um, what did we do just recently? Like literally 2 months ago in Boston, Octavia. And it's a lot of recit, and they made judicious cuts of the recitative. But it can be a lot. For me, it slows the action down. I feel like this is why I like reading novels that are plot driven rather than descriptive. It's the same. It's just a personal preference. Let's just get to the juicy stuff.
Do you have a favorite Handel opera role that you've performed?
Um, I do love Julius Caesar. I love singing Cleopatra, but I actually prefer singing it at 440 than 415. It's a little bit low for me at 415.
Oh,
Um,
really?
but that one's, yeah, super juicy, beautiful. I would like to take another stab at Partenope. That was a fun one. Um,
Anything you haven't done that you would like to do?
Yeah, every time I think that I've done all of them, I'm like, oh no, I actually haven't. I actually did two arias this last season, one with Tafa Music on their Handel celebration, and one I think with Voices of Music in San Francisco that were from Alexander Balos, which is a random Handel oratorio that maybe you've heard of, but I hadn't. And they're both just absolutely gorgeous. Um, so that would be a fun one to do. And I would love to do Il Trionfo del Tempo again. I've done that a few times, including in Vancouver. But that one suits me just perfectly. It's gorgeous.
That's right, and I'm pretty sure there are some nice recordings of that on YouTube somewhere to be found.
Yeah, of the duet for sure.
Mhm.
No, that's from L'Allegro. Sorry. The Il Trionfo del Tempo uh, has the Tu del Ciel. I think that one's
Mhm.
final sort of time stopping aria. I think that's on YouTube.
And so you sort of had this, at least it's my perception, at least reading through your bio and list of gigs done, that you sort of had this you had this big like opera moment, and now you seem very focused on concert singing. Is there a reason for that at all, or?
Yeah, and I think it's the reason most people have, which is, I've got kids. They're older now, they're 13, almost 14 and almost 16. Um, so it's definitely getting easier to travel, but the last big opera I did that wasn't in Boston, because I do tons of stuff with the Boston Early Music Festival, but that's in town, so it's different. But was this Fidelio at Covent Garden. And I had to pull my kids out of school and bring them with me and enroll them in a British school. And it was the winter and it was like so cold and dreary in England. And then we all got COVID. So it was and the production was beautiful and worthwhile. I mean, I loved the show. It was sort of half modern, half traditional. Um, and I love acting. So it's tricky to say that I don't really want to do that anymore, but it's just too much time. It's too much time to be away from home. And I love being at home. So the concerts you get in, you get out, and you come back home. But I do, yeah, I miss it. If the right offer came along, I would consider it.
Speaking of rehearsals, think the one thing that a very general public doesn't know about this business is maybe how little we actually all rehearse together in person before a concert. Could you just, maybe for people who don't know, could you describe like a normal concert rehearsal process?
Well, if it's a program that is new to everybody, like maybe you'll be lucky and you'll get 3 days of rehearsal to work on that. I think for these upcoming concerts, I believe we have 2 days to prepare an entirely new program. I'm familiar with four of the arias, but some of them are new to me. And of course, the newly composed piece will need a lot of attention. Um, but we're pros and we do all the work at home. It's a little different. Orchestral musicians might show up not having looked at the music before. Singers obviously can't do that, or we would be reading our music like that. I did a concert with Barbara Hannigan, and she was amazing as always, and she was singing this like 45-minute newly composed piece for her, and I was singing some like little Bach thing. And I was like, how long does it take you to learn this? And she's like, I don't know, a couple of weeks. And I just thought, oh my God, it takes me so much longer to learn new works, to get them in my voice, and to also like be able to lift my head every now and then. So everyone's different. But sometimes for Messiah rehearsals where everybody know it, you literally come in and you have like a conductor's meeting and then you just do it. So yeah, a little scary, but that's why they pay us the big bucks.
Exactly. Yeah, you mentioned Barbara Hannigan. I'm a great admirer of her work. Are there other singers who you really look up to, or who you've really looked up to in the past?
Yeah, I mean, Sandrine Pio, the French soprano, I think is just amazing. And I've had the chance to work with her a couple of times. And she's just beautiful and gracious. And then this summer I got to meet Cecilia Bartoli in Salzburg, and I was like such a dork. I was like, oh, you mean so much to me, and I just love you. And she clearly thought I was crazy. So yeah, there's a lot of great musicians out there, but these people who have really been trailblazers, I think, especially someone like Bartley, who's just uplifted the whole field to her level.
Mhm. When I think about my own favorite singers in early music or otherwise, they're always people, at least in my eyes, who have managed to sound like themselves their whole career. They don't seem to fit into any sort of specific mold. They remain entirely vocally singular, and
Yeah.
I think this is true about your own singing as an admirer of your work. Can you talk about how maybe a young singer can maintain this authentic singing voice throughout a career?
I don't know how you can do it, but I know what you're talking about. I mean, there's like I do worry with American singers that there tends to be kind of a more generic sound. The singers I like are ones that I could just hear on the radio and be like, oh, that is such and such. You know, it's so obvious who they are. But I don't know how you create that like a unique voice. And it's tricky because the way that they train you, especially this sort of history of young artist programs, and you know, you graduate from conservatory, you try to get into a young artist program where they expect you to like sing multiple like different roles, you know, roles that are too big for you, roles that are too small for you. And so the voices that they accept tend to be like really middle of the road. They can do a lot of different things. And that can be a more like generic sound. But for longevity and just I don't know. I agree with you that it's more interesting to be able to hear a voice and know specifically who it is.
I'm always, I had a conductor once asked me what he thought I was good at. And I thought that was an impossible question to answer. So I'd love to try and ask you. When I heard you sing with Tahoe Music last spring in person, that was the first time I heard you in person. I thought, wow, it's amazing. Your singing is like unbelievably clear through the whole range. It doesn't matter if it's fast or slow. It's amazing. And I thought, wow, that's anyways, that's a superpower. What do you think your superpower is?
Things that I'm good at. Well, the like evenness through the range that has come with age because I definitely had a clear like break down to
Where in which way?
like right around F above middle C. It would just be like a very clear. Now I have to sing in chest voice, and I think I've blurred that line, which some people like and some people don't. Some people like a big like variety, but my lower voice in general has gotten much fuller as I've gotten older. And that's actually the part of my voice that I warm up. When I warm up, I just focus on the low stuff, and then like a couple of forays into the high notes. But it's the low stuff where I can test like if I'm healthy or not. Um, I'm good at staccato notes. uh, I'm pretty good at finding random notes, you know, quickly. Um, and I'm pretty good at high floaty, like quiet stuff. I would say those are my good things. I'm not good at rage. Um, like super angry rolls are like never. Every now and then I'll try to do an angry roll, and it's not in my character, but it's also not in my voice. You know, my voice is more soft grained. So
Mm,
you need somebody with like a bit of steel in there, like Karina Gauvin or someone like that with that like more pointed quality. But yeah, I try to just like when I'm ornamenting something, because of course with Handel you have to write all your own ornaments for the da capos, and I try to um, do a lot of staccatos because that's what I feel comfortable doing it, and I think it's very showy, and people are like, ooh. So,
yeah, perhaps we can link to the da capo section of your Tornami with Apollo's Fire,
yeah,
one of the
I've
few
got a
that's on
few.
YouTube. That's a perfect example of those, I think. And then
Yeah.
everyone will agree with you that yes. Um, maybe as we're heading towards the end here, if you didn't sing but you had a different role in the arts, what do you think you would do, you would be?
Well, nothing organizational. And a lot of roles in the arts, which are so important, are run by like organized people. I'm not. I told somebody the other day, they're like, oh, just put it in your calendar. And I was like, I don't actually keep a calendar. I just have like dates in my head. And they're like, oh my God, I can't. Because I don't know if it's being a singer, you're so managed most of the time, you know, like I even received an email reminding me about the Zoom call, even though I did have that in my mind. So not that,
Would you,
gosh,
if you're
I
an
can't,
instrumentalist, did you grow up playing instruments?
I play piano, but really not well. And I used to get so like panic attacky when I had to perform. So that was not the instrument for me. I don't think I have any facility for any other instruments. I don't know, maybe I'd paint the sets, honestly. or like do props. I'm good with little fiddly things, and I'm creative. So yeah, I have some good ideas.
So you mentioned potential panic attacks when you were a child in piano lessons. That is clearly not the case now when you're on stage, because when I was singing behind you in Toffa Music, it was a live CD recording, so a concert that's going straight onto a disc, and I think those are the most intense situations. Yet all my friends who came to the concert said you just seemed so unbelievably calm. Do you have a strategy for that, or are you just born that way?
I am calm, and I'm calm in life. And when I feel like I can do something well, then I don't think there's any reason to worry. I guess it's in situations where I feel underprepared, which I try, I really almost always am like over prepared. Those are the situations where I get a little bit of panic, or if I'm under the weather and I'm just not sure if the voice is going to come out, then I'll be more nervous, but also less so than I used to be. I think it's like, you know, we're doing the best we can out there. Um, so yeah, I've talked to a lot of people who started in one instrument and then switched to another one, and they say the same things. They knew when they got to the one they were supposed to be doing that that was the right choice because they didn't feel like extremely panicky and nervous. Um, I think I'm an anomaly, though. I know a lot of singers who are just amazing, perfect singers who do have stage fright and nerves. So yeah, I choose not to. But I'm sure
Very
I'm
good.
gonna reach a point, where like I'm getting older and my voice isn't going the way I want it to, and then I'll get panicky, or I'll quit, or I'll just start wearing a turban and be eccentric. One of those.
Maybe one last question back on the subject of the program. My favorite piece of the concert is the Sweet Bird, because well, I heard it in Toronto and I thought it was just one of those time stand still kind of arias for us, the audience. But what's your favorite aria on the program to sing?
I'm quite excited about the aria from Faramondo, which is the first thing on the program, which I asked to be the first thing on the program because it's new, and I will be a bit nervous about that. It's um it's really fast. It's a little bit low, but I threw in a bunch of high stuff. Um, it's cool. So I'm excited about that one. And it's kind of in the Da Tempeste. It's like that style. And I'm like, why did I never hear of this aria before? That was Alex's recommendation. I really like the Oh Sleep from Semele. I think that's just a very simple, very, very gorgeous aria. And I'm excited to perform the new piece and see what people think of it. So I'm still getting all the notes in place. A lot of tritones. But I think people will like it.
Fabulous. Well, I think this has been great. It's been so wonderful chatting, and for everyone still listening, Amanda will be joining the Pacific Baroque Orchestra in Victoria on Friday, September 26th, and in Vancouver on Saturday, September 27th. Amanda, thank you so much, and we hope to see everyone at the concert.
Thanks. Nice to talk to you.